Money is so often a subject that's tough for couples to talk about and ends up being the source of a lot of contention in a marriage. But Amanda Christensen with USU Extension Office is here to ease our pain. She's put together a list of expert tips to help couples learn from to effectively communicate about money. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
I mean, money we know is just one of the big three, right? As far as contention goes in marriage.
It is. It's up there. It's not a secret.
You see this all the time. You teach couples, you teach couple classes at the Extension. And my question is it possible, I know a lot of newlyweds sign up for your class, which I think is so smart. Is it possible to, ahead of time, in advance, ease the strain of that weight on your marriage?
Well, the financial instructor in me wants to say, if you can just take some time to learn some basic financial principles, it will go miles for you in your marriage. But anyone who you can know all the financial principles there are to know, and if you can't practice self-discipline, if you can't stick to a budget or a personal allowance or a savings goal, whatever it is, then what good does the knowledge do you if your habits and attitudes don't match?
So it's an individual learning as much as it is a couple connection.
Sure.
And I'm sure you can back me up in the couples that you've seen in your class. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how little money you have, the problems are about the same.
Yeah, that money is actually not the root of the issue. It's communication.
And we hear that all the time. It's not about what it's really about. So let's start with that communication, because that's the very first tip you say, but you're adding a word to that goal of communication. Communicate genuinely.
Genuinely. So we want to be vulnerable, be honest about how your spouse's or your spending habits make you feel, or if it's a major financial decision that you're discussing. Okay, these are my concerns, honestly, and be vulnerable. We just got to be okay with that.
Well, you said a sentence that I know we hear from therapists here in the studio often pops up in therapy, which is, how does it really make you feel? And we joke about that, but you're saying at the root of most money discussions, money arguments is our feelings, right?
Yes. Yep, it's feeling. It is not how much you have or don't have to spend. It's why does this make you uncomfortable? Okay, I try to understand that. And then ask yourself, why does this make me uncomfortable? Oh, well, there was something maybe I experienced in my childhood that told me that this is maybe not the way I want to go with my money. I want to do something different.
And do you find that's a lot of it? How I was raised, how she was raised, how he was raised?
A lot. And I don't think we really know that until you ask ourselves honestly, what are some of those money triggers? Where did they come from? And now I've got to communicate that genuinely to somebody else.
What would be the example of a money trigger?
So mom, maybe you saw mom or dad hiding money purchases.
Sacks in the trunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, or you never did vacation because you couldn't afford that when you saw other families doing that.
Got it.
You heard that a lot. You heard that negative lingo. We can't afford that. You can't have that. We don't. That all goes with us.
You say the communication is only as good as the listening.
Yeah. So with communicating genuinely, you have to listen genuinely, with the intent simply to understand what your significant other is thinking or feeling. That's it. Not with the intent to plan your next response about why your idea is better. Again, this is communication 101. So it's the same with money as it is with anything else.
In fact, you recommend, as with other heated, sometimes divisive topics, to take time away. If the conversation, if the purchase of the moment is kind of blowing up in our communication, time out, walk away, cool down, and revisit later.
Absolutely. Don't expect a solution in the moment. In fact, if you can sit down and say, we're going to talk about this right now, but we're not going to figure it out, that takes the weight a little bit off of having to figure it out, and you can come back later. Later might be a couple days, maybe longer. That's okay. Just communicate.
And compromise, you say. Compromise.
Oh, I hate that. It sounds so cliche, but really, truly, if the financial piece of my spouse is more important to me than anything else, then compromising becomes easy to do. And it really should be. You would hope that your financial piece is your spouse's #1 priority. So make it the first priority, and then compromising becomes a little easier to do when you realize, okay, this is going to make he or she feel a lot safer or a lot better about where we're headed.
I think safe's a good word, isn't it?
Yeah, with money,
like
it is.
Safety. You say it may not be helpful to work these steps in the moment, rather let's have the conversation, the dialogue in advance.
Yeah, that seems silly. Like, we're gonna sit down right now and talk about a major financial decision, maybe it's a move or an education decision or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this is how we're gonna do it.
And here's how it's gonna go.
But that's kind of what, if we can say again, we're gonna communicate right now, we're not gonna try to figure it out. We're gonna come back later and compromise. Well, then I'm, again, maybe more open to being vulnerable rather than.
As you work with these couples, Amanda, in the classes, I'm sure you see light bulb moments, like aha moments where they're looking at each other like, okay, that will really help us. Is there one that you circle around most often and you think that was a big breakthrough? That piece of advice was a big breakthrough for couples, or it really, really helped them move past their money mountain?
Yeah, I think there's always a light bulb moment when we get them past that you don't need to make more money to agree about money, to agree together, to get on the same page. It has way more to do with self-discipline and being selfless, putting your spouse's needs ahead of yours. And then the light bulbs, those are always light bulb moments. Also, when we talk about our money history, what we were talking about earlier, what did I see mom and dad do or not do?
That's really enlightening, I'm sure, for the partner.
That's enlightening.
Understand the history.
Yeah, sometimes the partner gets it better than you do about what your money history was like.
This is a big topic. We've just scratched the surface. Where can people go for class information or for more advice?
Sure. famfinpro.com is my website that links over to all of USU's websites, and it's all there.
Okay. Thank you so much.